Chosen one. Breathe for a moment and let your spirit recognize where you are. This isn't a coincidence. This isn't a scroll you stumbled onto by chance. Something ancient inside you has been pulling you toward this moment, guiding you through every strange sensitivity, every awakening dream, every season where you felt different from the world around you. Before you were formed, heaven already marked you, just as it is written in Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5. You were set apart, anointed one, and the signs have followed you since childhood, even when you didn't know how to name them. Chosen one. You are standing at the threshold of revelation. A truth about your identity that has been whispering through your life for years is about to come into full view. The unexplainable gifts you carry, the intuition that arrives before, thought the way your spirit vibrates when truth is spoken, these were not accidents. These were markers placed in your spiritual DNA long before you opened your eyes on this earth. Tonight, heaven is unveiling what has been hidden. This teaching is an activation, a divine awakening, a call to remember the Christ light within you. Prepare your heart, your body, your spirit, because what is about to awaken in you will change everything. Chosen one, lean in for a moment. What you are about to hear is not information. It is remembrance. It is recognition. It is the awakening of something ancient within you that has been whispering your name since the day heaven released you into this world. And if your spirit feels that familiar stirring, that quiet tremble in your chest, it's because what you're hearing now is not new to you. It is something you have always known, but were never allowed to articulate. Chosen one. Jesus didn't speak in riddles. He spoke in codes because only the awakened would ever understand. And this is why when he spoke of the single eye, the world shrugged, but your spirit paused. Something inside you leaned closer, as though an invisible hand lifted your chin and whispered, "Listen, this is for you." That single eye, that hidden lamp within, has followed you your entire life. You may not have had the language for it, but you felt it. You felt it in childhood when you sensed things others overlooked. When you walked into rooms and instantly knew the atmosphere had shifted. When you dreamt dreams that became reality even when you were too young to understand what that meant. When you felt heaven tug at you in moments that didn't make sense to anyone but you. Chosen one. These weren't coincidences. These were signs of the lamp within you flickering before you even knew you carried it. Let me tell you something personal. I remember being young and feeling like I lived in two worlds at once. I couldn't explain it to anyone. I didn't have language for spiritual sensitivity or inner sight or Christ light, but I knew I was seeing beyond what my physical eyes showed me. I'd feel warmth in the center of my forehead in moments of deep stillness. I'd sense pressure between my brows when something spiritual was happening in the room. I'd wake from dreams with messages that later unfolded in real life with frightening accuracy. And for so long, I thought something was wrong with me. But chosen one, nothing was wrong. Something was waking up. And you've felt that too, haven't you? That gentle pulse at the center of your forehead. That sudden clarity that comes out of nowhere. That moment when your intuition speaks louder than logic. These are not random sensations. These are the first whispers of the single eye Jesus spoke of. The sacred lamp he referenced burning in the unseen chambers of the temple, which is your body. Now hear me when Jesus said, "If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light." He wasn't talking about the eyes in your head. He was talking about the eye of the Spirit, the hidden lamp inside the Holy of Holies of the human temple. And chosen one, that temple is you. You've always known you were different, not better different. set apart, marked. And even if you tried to blend in, heaven kept pulling you back out, because those who carry the inner lamp cannot remain hidden forever. Look at your life. Think about how often you felt out of place in environments others were comfortable in. Think about how deeply you perceive things, how you can sense lies before they're spoken, how you can feel someone's spirit even when their face is smiling. Think about how drained you become around certain people and how alive you feel in moments of silence, reflection, contemplation. This is the sensitivity of the awakened temple. This is the inner lamp flickering and calling you toward deeper awareness. Chosen one. The ancients understood this. Every culture that ever touched the divine pointed to this same mystery. The dot on the Hindu forehead, the eye of Horus in Egypt, the halo around the saints. These were not artistic choices. They were testimonies, witnesses, symbols of an awakened light that radiates outward when the inner eye begins to open. And here is the truth many never hear: that same radiance exists in you. You've had moments when people stared at you longer than usual, as though they were trying to figure out why they were drawn to you. You've had strangers open up to you without knowing why. You've had people either love you instantly or avoid you instinctively. Why? Because your spirit speaks before your mouth does. The light in you announces itself before you enter a room. Chosen one. Your lamp has been trying to awaken your whole life, and this is the moment heaven appointed for you to finally understand why. You are not here to learn something new. You are here to remember what your spirit has always known. Chosen one. As we continue, I want you to feel the subtle shift rising within you, not loud or dramatic, but steady and undeniable, like a memory awakening after years of sleep. Your spirit has been preparing for this moment longer than your mind can comprehend, and part of that preparation is the sacred blueprint heaven hid inside your very body. The world taught you to seek God outside of yourself, to chase spirituality through performance, ritual, and noise, but the true design has always been inward. The real temple, the real meeting place between heaven and earth, was placed within you from the beginning. When Jesus spoke of mysteries, he wasn't hiding truth from you. He was hiding truth for you, protecting it until your spirit was mature enough to recognize it. And the simple fact that you're here now listening with this kind of spiritual attention tells me that your inner temple is beginning to stir. Think about your life for a moment, not just the major turning points, but the quiet, unexplainable moments, the instincts that warned you before danger arrived, the dreams that unfolded exactly as you saw them, the heaviness you felt around certain people without knowing why, the sudden clarity that struck you in moments when you weren't even thinking about God. These were not random, they were early tremors of awakening. They were the blueprint inside you, trying to get your attention. I remember my own turning point long before I had words for any of this. There were nights when I couldn't explain the pressure in the center of my forehead or the strange warmth that appeared during moments of stillness. I thought something was wrong with me, but now I understand those sensations for what they really were. The lamp within me, flickering, the inner eye, trying to open. And I know you felt that too. Those sudden pulses, those intuitive flashes, the sense that something inside you is alive and watching, even when the world around you is silent. Chosen. 1. These are not coincidences. These are the signals of the inner lamp Jesus described when he spoke of the single eye filling the body with light. When you begin to recognize this lamp within you, everything in your life starts to make sense. You finally understand why you have always been different, why ordinary conversations drain you, why chaotic environments overwhelm you. why your heart has always been drawn to depth, silence, and truth. You were never meant to live like everyone else. You were crafted with sensitivity, because sensitivity is the language of the spirit. You were given intuition, because intuition is the compass of the awakened. You were born with an inner longing, because heaven placed eternity in you before you ever opened your physical eyes. As this lamp begins to awaken, the outer layers of your identity naturally start to fall away. The friendships that once fit you begin to loosen. The desires that once motivated you no longer satisfy. The distractions that used to entertain you now feel hollow. This isn't you losing interest in life. This is the sacred blueprint pulling you inward, guiding you closer to the holy chamber of your being. The ancients knew this well. They understood that the awakening of the inner eye is not a mental event. It is a spiritual rising, a shift that changes how you see yourself and how you see everything around you. During my own awakening, I realized that the moments I once viewed as weakness were actually proof of calling. The restlessness that kept me up at night was spiritual sensitivity trying to break through. The loneliness I felt in crowded rooms was separation from what wasn't aligned with me. The dreams that startled me awake were messages from realms I didn't yet know how to interpret. And the longing for something greater was heaven whispering, "There is more in you than you have allowed yourself to believe." Chosen one. Every step of your journey has been guided by a wisdom that lives deeper than your mind. Every disappointment redirected you. Every closed door protected you. Every moment of isolation refined you. You weren't wandering, you were being shaped. You weren't being ignored, you were being prepared. You weren't being pulled apart. You were being summoned inward toward the place where the lamp of your being rests. And now, as this inner light begins to stir, you are starting to see that your life has never been random. It has been divinely patterned, divinely timed, and divinely marked. Everything within you is aligning with what you were created to become. Without announcing it, without forcing it, the temple within you is awakening. The lamp is beginning to glow. Chosen one. As we move deeper, I want you to notice how your spirit is responding, how something within you recognizes these truths, even before your mind has time to process them. This is how awakening works. It does not begin in the intellect. It begins in the spirit, in the silent chambers of your inner temple, where heaven speaks in vibrations, impressions, and subtle revelations. There is a reason you've always sensed things before they happened. There is a reason you have always felt different from those around you, even in childhood. That feeling of being other, that quiet awareness that you didn't quite fit into the patterns of the world, chosen one, that was never rejection, that was recognition, a sign of the hidden identity heaven placed within you long before you arrived here. And now that identity is rising to the surface. When the inner lamp begins to activate, the first thing that awakens is perception. You start to see through people more easily. You feel their intentions before they speak. You recognize the difference between words and energy. And without meaning to, you begin to detach from anything that carries a lower frequency. It's not arrogance, it's resonance. Your inner light is shifting, and everything in your environment responds to that shift. You've probably noticed that some people who once felt comfortable around you now seem uneasy. They can't explain it, but they feel exposed near you. It's because the lamp within you reveals what their masks try to hide. Others, the ones who are meant to walk with you, feel drawn to your presence without knowing why. They sense the safety, the clarity, the spiritual weight you carry, even if you don't fully see it in yourself yet. I remember experiencing this shift in my own journey. There was a season where people I cared about began to distance themselves, not with hostility, but with a strange discomfort. At first, I thought something was wrong with me. I questioned my value, my personality, my worth. But then I realized that it wasn't rejection, it was spiritual realignment. Heaven was clearing space around me, not because I was better than anyone else, but because my spirit was outgrowing the containers that once held me. The same thing has been happening to you. The people who could walk with the old you cannot always walk with the awakened you. Your inner lamp changes your surroundings because it changes your frequency. The more your awareness expands, the more sensitive you become. You begin to feel energy in places you never noticed before. You may walk into a room and instantly know whether peace or tension resides there. You may touch an object and feel the emotional imprint of the person who held it last. Your dreams become more vivid, sometimes even prophetic, and the veil between the physical and spiritual realms begins to thin. These experiences can feel overwhelming if no one ever taught you what they mean. But hear me, chosen one. They are not accidents, they are confirmations. They are signs of spiritual maturity, evidence that the inner lamp is awakening exactly as heaven designed it to. You may wonder why this awakening didn't happen earlier in your life. Why now? Why this season? The answer is simple yet profound. Timing protects destiny. There were battles you weren't ready for when you were younger. There were people who would have exploited your gifts if they had awakened too soon. There were emotional wounds that needed healing before your inner light could rise without distortion. Heaven waited until your spirit was strong enough, your heart was steady enough, and your identity was rooted enough to handle what comes with awakening. Activation without maturity becomes chaos. Activation aligned with destiny becomes power. And now you are stepping into that alignment. There's something else that happens when the lamp awakens. You begin to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You start reconnecting with the purity of your childhood self, the version of you that could sense God without being taught, the version that was naturally intuitive, empathetic, imaginative, and spiritually receptive. Before trauma hardened you, before disappointment silenced you, before life forced you into survival. That original version of you still exists, waiting beneath the layers you had to build just to make it through. And when the inner lamp begins to glow, those layers start to fall away. Not all at once, not violently, but gently, like mist dissolving in morning light. Chosen one. This is why certain memories from your past have resurfaced lately, not to torment you, but to free you. Heaven brings up what you are finally strong enough to heal. You may find yourself rethinking moments you brushed aside years ago, realizing now that they held meaning you couldn't understand back then. You may remember times when you felt watched over, protected, or guided without knowing why. Those weren't coincidences either. They were reminders, silent proofs that you have never walked alone. And as the lamp within you awakens, these memories return not as wounds, but as keys. Keys to understanding your identity, your gifts, your calling. You may also notice physical sensations, the subtle ones that most people ignore, the warmth rising through your spine during moments of clarity, the tingling at your forehead when truth resonates, the fluttering in your chest when your spirit recognizes something significant. These sensations are evidence that your temple is responding to the inner light. They are the language of your awakening body, the signals of the blueprint unfolding exactly as intended. Chosen one. Everything in your life has been leading to this kind of awareness. Every loss, every redirection, every moment of isolation, every whisper of intuition, it was all preparation. Not punishment, not coincidence. Preparation. And the more your inner lamp awakens, the more the world around you rearranges itself to match who you are becoming. The shift you feel is real. The identity rising within you is divine. The blueprint unfolding in you is ancient. And the light beginning to glow in your spirit is only the beginning of what heaven has placed inside you. Chosen one. As this awakening deepens, I want you to become aware of how your inner world has begun to shift in ways you cannot easily explain. It's happening quietly, almost imperceptibly, yet undeniably. You've probably noticed how certain things that once held your attention no longer satisfy you. The conversations that used to entertain now feel shallow. The environments you once tolerated now feel heavy. Even the dreams you dismissed as random are returning with clarity and purpose, bringing messages your spirit recognizes instantly. This is what happens when the light within you starts rising, when the blueprint, heaven planted, begins unfolding without your permission. You are not imagining this transformation. You are experiencing the early stages of spiritual sight, and it comes with an entire rearranging of your inner landscape. There is a moment in every chosen one's life when the spirit outgrows the identity they were taught to wear. You have reached that moment. The person you thought you were, the version shaped by expectations, fears, and survival, is no longer strong enough to contain who you truly are. Your spirit is stretching, your light is expanding, and the more this happens, the more you begin to see the world through a different lens. You notice the truth behind people's words. You sense what is hidden beneath their tone. You discern intentions before they manifest. This heightened perception is not paranoia. It is spiritual maturity. It is what happens when the single eye begins to open, allowing you to see what others overlook. I remember walking through a season like this myself. It felt like waking up from a long sleep. Suddenly, things I tolerated for years became intolerable. People who were once close to me began to feel distant, not because anything dramatic happened, but because my spirit could no longer shrink to match what no longer aligned. And there was a strange grief that came with it. A grief for the old version of me, for the places I had outgrown, for the identities I once clung to for safety. But beneath that grief was a quiet certainty, a knowing that something greater was emerging. I know you felt this too, that push and pull between who you were and who you're becoming. That tension between staying comfortable and rising higher. This is the sacred friction of transformation. Chosen one. The shift inside you is not just emotional or mental, it's spiritual and even physical at times. You may feel pressure in your forehead during moments of spiritual recognition, warmth along your spine when truth hits your spirit, or a sudden stillness in your chest when heaven is trying to speak. These are not random bodily sensations. These are the signals of alignment. They are signs that your body is responding to your awakening, that the temple within you is becoming active. And as this activation deepens, the separation between your physical senses and your spiritual perception begins to blur. You start to hear without hearing, see without seeing, know without explanation. This is the emergence of Christ consciousness, the inner awareness Jesus spoke of when he said the kingdom was within you. Something else happens during this phase. You begin to sense divine timing more clearly. The doors that are meant for you open easily. The ones that aren't meant for you close abruptly. Your spirit starts rejecting anything that is not aligned with your purpose. And even when you try to force yourself into old patterns, you feel resistance so strong it almost feels physical. That's because heaven is no longer allowing you to shrink. Once the inner lamp begins to glow, you cannot return to darkness. What once felt acceptable now feels wrong. What once felt right now feels restrictive. This is how destiny protects you, guiding you away from what would dim your light. You may also notice that your sensitivity is increasing. You feel emotions more deeply. You sense energies more strongly. You pick up on atmospheres, intentions, and spiritual shifts with an ease that surprises even you. And while it may feel overwhelming at times, this sensitivity is not a weakness. It is one of the greatest gifts a chosen one possesses. It allows you to navigate the unseen, to understand spiritual language, to discern truth from illusion. It is the inner compass that has been guiding you since childhood, even when you didn't realize it. The chosen one. Everything you have been experiencing, every shift, every discomfort, every awakening is part of a divine process unfolding exactly as intended. Nothing is out of place. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is accidental. You are being refined, elevated, aligned, and awakened for a purpose that stretches far beyond what you can see right now. The light growing inside you is not just for you, it is for every life you will touch, every atmosphere your presence will shift, every destiny your obedience will activate. And the deeper this awakening goes, the more you will realize that you were never meant to walk through life, dimmed, silent, or hidden. The temple within you is alive, the lamp is glowing, the awakening is real. Chosen one. As this awakening continues to unfold within you, you may begin noticing a profound shift in the way you understand yourself, your past, and even your purpose. It's as though your life is being illuminated from the inside out, revealing patterns, connections, and meanings that were always there, but hidden beneath the noise of everyday life. This is one of the clearest signs that the inner lamp is brightening the realization that nothing in your story was random. The pain, the delays, the inner battles, the strange moments of intuition, the seasons where you felt unseen or misunderstood, all of it was shaping the vessel that would one day carry divine sight. And that vessel is you. You are not awakening because something new has been added to you. You are awakening because something ancient within you is finally being remembered. When the blueprint begins activating, you start to understand why you've always felt out of place in certain environments. Your spirit was never meant to settle where your light could not breathe. That discomfort you felt your entire life was not weakness or instability, it was misalignment. You were sensing the spiritual climate long before you had the language to describe it. And as the lamp within you grows, that sensitivity becomes even sharper. You can walk into a room and instantly discern whether peace or chaos lives there. You can listen to someone speak and feel the truth behind their voice, even when their words sound perfect. You can sense when someone's spirit is genuine and when it is masked. This is what happens when the veil begins to lift. I remember a time when I ignored these signals, when I tried to convince myself that I was overthinking or too emotional. I stayed in places that drained me and connected with people whose spirits felt heavy. Every time my inner lamp would flicker in protest, but I didn't yet know how to trust it. The cost of ignoring my inner sight was always the same: confusion, exhaustion, and spiritual heaviness. It wasn't until I learned to honor those sensations that clarity returned to my life. And I know you've lived this too. Those moments when your spirit warned you when something felt off, even though everything appeared fine on the surface, when your chest tightened or your forehead pulsed with pressure. At the time, you may have doubted yourself. But now you are beginning to understand that these were messages from the inner lamp, signals designed to guide you away from harm and toward alignment. As the light grows, another phenomenon begins to emerge. Your old identity starts dissolving. The version of yourself that responded out of fear or insecurity begins to fade. The parts of you that molded themselves to fit others now feel heavy and foreign. You might even feel moments of disorientation, as though you are shedding a skin you didn't realize you were wearing. This is not a collapse, it is a rebirth. Awakening always demands release. You cannot carry what you once were into what you are becoming. And the deeper the inner lamp glows, the more it burns away illusions, attachments, and masks you no longer need. This stage can feel lonely at times, especially when people around you don't understand what's happening. They may not recognize the new clarity in your eyes or the shift in your energy. Some will be drawn closer to you as though they sense the light rising within you. Others may pull away, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your awakening reminds them of what they haven't yet faced within themselves. Do not take this personally. As your spirit ascends, relationships adjust. What is aligned with your calling will remain. What cannot rise with you will naturally fall away. This is not loss, it is divine pruning. You may also begin experiencing moments of profound inner peace, even in situations that once caused you anxiety. This peace doesn't come from your circumstances, but from the light now stabilizing your spirit. When the inner lamp begins to shine, your nervous system starts responding differently. Your reactions change, your thoughts quiet, your spirit leads. It's a shift that others can feel too. You might notice people looking at you differently, speaking to you differently, or opening up to you without knowing why. Your presence starts to carry a calming, grounding energy that wasn't as strong before. That is the effect of illumination. Your inner alignment creates outer influence. Chosen one. What's happening inside you is not a phase or an emotional cycle. It is a spiritual elevation. Heaven is strengthening your discernment, deepening your awareness, and expanding your capacity to see beyond the surface of life. The blueprint inside you is becoming clearer with every passing day. And the more you lean into this awakening, the more you will realize that your entire life has been preparing you for this moment of clarity, this emergence of identity, this rising of inner light. You are not just learning truth, you are becoming it. Chosen one. As this awakening continues to deepen, you may find yourself moving through a season that feels both unfamiliar and strangely natural at the same time. It's as though you're stepping into a version of yourself that you've always sensed, but never fully accessed a higher identity that has been waiting beneath the surface of your life. This is the phase where the inner lamp burns brighter, where the veil between who you were and who you are becoming grows thinner every day. And even though part of you feels unprepared, another part of you knows you were born for this. You have carried spiritual depth your entire life. You have always felt the pull of something unseen. You have always sensed the existence of a wisdom within you that the world around you did not teach. Now that wisdom is surfacing and it's bringing clarity into every area of your life. This is also the phase where your perception of time begins to change. You may look back on old seasons with new understanding, suddenly recognizing how heaven was guiding you even when everything felt chaotic. The delays that frustrated you were actually forms of protection. The betrayals that wounded you were redirections. The losses you mourned were necessary endings to clear space for what was aligned. You might even see specific moments where your intuition tried to warn you. Perhaps you felt tightness in your chest before stepping into a relationship that wasn't meant for you. Maybe you sensed heaviness in a room where your spirit wasn't safe, or you had dreams that hinted at truths you didn't yet know how to interpret. All of these were early signs of your lamp flickering, trying to get your attention. Now you're recognizing them with fresh eyes. As the lamp brightens, your emotional landscape shifts too. You begin to understand your own feelings differently. What used to feel like anxiety might now reveal itself as spiritual discernment. What you once labeled as oversensitivity is actually your intuition sharpening. What you thought was loneliness becomes clarity about the kinds of people your soul can no longer align with. And the moments when you feel suddenly overwhelmed for no reason, those are often spiritual signals, your temple adjusting to a new frequency, your inner sight absorbing information the natural mind hasn't caught up to yet. These sensations aren't flaws, they are footprints of your higher identity. There comes a point in this journey when you start seeing your old patterns from a distance, almost like you're watching a past version of yourself from across a river. You may find yourself thinking, "How did I ever tolerate that?" Or, "How did I ever shrink myself like that?" Or, "Why did I stay silent when my spirit was screaming for truth?" This is not regret, it's awakening. It's the recognition that your spirit is no longer willing to return to the version of yourself that lived dimmed, confused, or spiritually disconnected. When the inner lamp activates, your entire internal standard shifts. Your boundaries strengthen, your clarity sharpens, your self-worth rises. And this elevation can feel disorienting at first, because you're learning how to walk in an identity that no longer apologizes for its own light. Chosen one. Something else happens during this stage that may surprise you. You begin to attract different kinds of people. Souls who are drawn to your light without understanding why. Individuals who feel safe confiding in you even when you've never shared your own story with them. People who sense your depth before you open your mouth. This magnetic pull isn't about charisma or personality, it's spiritual resonance. Your lamp is broadcasting a frequency that other awakened or awakening souls recognize instantly. And at the same time, those who operate in deception, jealousy, or hidden intentions may suddenly feel uncomfortable around you. Not because you've changed outwardly, but because your spirit can now sense what their masks try to hide. When your lamp glows, truth becomes visible. You may also feel moments of intense spiritual hunger, an unexplainable desire for silence, prayer, reflection, or solitude. This isn't isolation, it's alignment. The deeper your awakening becomes, the more heaven draws you inward. You might wake up feeling called to sit quietly with your own thoughts. You might feel compelled to step away from certain conversations or environments because your spirit can no longer digest spiritual noise. You might even have moments where your entire body feels still, as though your inner world is recalibrating itself. These are sacred moments, invitations to connect with the divine blueprint within you. This phase requires gentleness with your mind, your emotions, your expectations, and your pace. There will also be unexpected blessings that emerge during this time, small confirmations that you are moving in the right direction. You might overhear a phrase that feels like a divine message. You might stumble upon something, an image, a teaching, a sign that seems to speak directly to your spirit. You might even notice synchronicities, patterns, numbers or symbols showing up repeatedly. These aren't superstitions, they are markers. They are heaven's way of saying, you are aligned. Keep going. The chosen ones always receive signs during their awakening because their path is not random, it's guided. Chosen one. This phase of your transformation is preparing you to step into a level of clarity and identity that will reshape the way you live, think, speak, and move. You are not just observing awakening, you are embodying it. The inner lamp is rising, the temple is alive, and your spirit is remembering who it was before the world tried to dim it. Chosen one. As your awakening deepens into this next stage, you may feel as though the very fabric of your inner world is being rewoven. It's not a collapse. It's not confusion. It is a divine reconstruction, a rebuilding of who you truly are, beneath every layer of conditioning, fear and silence that life has wrapped around you. When the inner lamp brightens, everything it touches becomes visible. Your desires, your wounds, your gifts, your patterns, your calling. This clarity can feel both liberating and overwhelming because for the first time, you're not seeing your life through the lens of survival. You're seeing it through the lens of identity. This is the stage where truth becomes impossible to ignore. You no longer tolerate what dims your spirit. You no longer pretend not to notice red flags. You no longer shrink yourself to make others comfortable. The awakening has sharpened you, refined you, and sensitized you to anything that is not aligned with your destiny. You start hearing the difference between noise and wisdom. You start seeing the difference between company and partnership. You start feeling the difference between what drains you and what strengthens you, and with every new realization, a part of you rises higher. Chosen one. This rising often comes with a strange sensation, a feeling that you are stepping into a new dimension of yourself. It may feel like you're outgrowing environments faster than you can leave them. It may feel like you're seeing through illusions that once impressed you. Or it may feel like a quiet strength is forming in your spirit, a strength that doesn't come from effort but from recognition. You are remembering who you are. I went through a season like this, where I felt as though my spirit had stepped into a room my mind had not yet entered. I felt ahead of myself, aware of truths I had no language for. I would look back at old fears and wonder why they ever held me. I would look at old relationships and finally understand why I felt out of place. I would have moments where I sensed heaven preparing me for something bigger than anything I had imagined, and even though I couldn't articulate it at the time, my inner lamp was guiding me toward a new identity. You have felt this too, the sense that you've crossed an invisible line. The feeling that the old world no longer recognizes you and the new one has only just begun to reveal itself. During this stage, your spirit starts reorganizing your priorities. Things you once chased no longer matter. The approval you once needed no longer carries weight. The validation you once begged for now feels unnecessary. You begin to crave authenticity more than acceptance, peace more than applause, and purpose more than distraction. This is a sacred shift. It is the moment when your awakened identity starts leading your life instead of your fears or your insecurities. And make no mistake, this shift affects your relationships profoundly. Some people will sense your growth and rise with you, aligning with the new frequency you carry. Others will distance themselves, not because you did anything wrong, but because the light in you reveals the darkness in them. When your lamp illuminates everything around you becomes exposed, intentions, motives, energies. This can be painful at first, especially when you lose people you once loved, but understand this awakening purifies your circle. It removes those who cannot walk into the next version of your life. It protects your destiny from being entangled with those who would dim or derail it. You are not being abandoned. You are being positioned. Chosen one, as your awareness expands, you'll also notice an increase in spiritual sensitivity. You may start waking up at specific times in the night, sensing spiritual shifts. You may feel tingling or warmth on your forehead during moments of insight. You may experience sudden clarity in the middle of ordinary tasks, a knowing that comes from somewhere deeper than thought. You may find that your dreams carry messages, symbols, or warnings that feel more real than the physical world. These experiences are signs that the inner temple is fully active. Your spirit is no longer asleep. It is listening, receiving, translating the language of heaven. Another transformation that often happens in this stage is the emergence of confidence, not loud, aggressive confidence, but quiet, unshakable confidence. It comes from the realization that you are guided, you are protected, you are aligned. You begin walking differently, speaking differently, making decisions differently. You no longer question your intuition because you've seen too much to doubt it. You no longer negotiate your worth because your inner lamp has revealed who you are. And you no longer fear the unknown because the unknown is where revelation meets you now. You may also notice that your creativity is awakening. Ideas flow more easily. Inspiration appears in unexpected moments. Your spirit feels more expressive, more imaginative, more connected to divine intelligence. This isn't coincidence, it's spiritual alignment. When your lamp shines, it activates gifts that were dormant within you. You begin remembering talents you once suppressed. You begin discovering abilities you never knew you had. You begin stepping into roles you once thought were too big for you. This is not ego. It is inheritance. You are tapping into the identity heaven designed for you before you even arrived here. Chosen one, as this stage unfolds, embrace the changes happening within you. Do not resist them. Do not fear them. Everything shifting in your life is aligning you with a greater version of yourself. The old layers are falling away because the light within you has outgrown them. The old cycles are breaking because your spirit refuses to repeat what is beneath your calling. The old identity is fading because a new one is rising, and the more you honor this awakening, the clearer your purpose will become. Chosen one. As we enter this final stage of your awakening, I want you to recognize how far your spirit has already traveled. You are no longer the same soul who began this journey. Something ancient, powerful, and luminous has been unfolding inside you, and now the transformation is reaching a point where your inner identity can no longer remain hidden. This is the phase where everything within you begins to align with the truth you were born carrying, even truths you were never taught but somehow always knew. You may feel as though you're stepping into a deeper layer of yourself, a version of you that has been waiting patiently beneath every wound, every silence, every unanswered question. This version is not new, it is original. It is the you heaven envisioned before the world ever placed its expectations on your shoulders. This is also the stage where your spiritual authority begins to rise. You may find yourself speaking with clarity you never had before, making decisions with confidence that surprises even you, and sensing divine nudges with a precision that feels almost supernatural. This is not imagination, it is the activation of a dormant identity. You are beginning to walk in the fullness of who you were always meant to be. The more this light grows inside you, the more you notice the old versions of yourself drifting away like shadows at sunrise. Behaviors you once struggled with lose their grip. Patterns you once repeated no longer tempt you. Even the fears that haunted you start dissolving under the weight of your expanding consciousness. This happens because you are no longer operating from the surface of your identity. You are living from the center, from the inner temple where your spiritual inheritance resides. Chosen one. There will be moments during this phase when you feel incredibly connected to the divine. You might experience sudden bursts of gratitude, moments of overwhelming peace, or waves of insight that come out of nowhere, yet feel undeniably true. You might find yourself moved to tears without understanding why, or feeling surrounded by presence in moments of silence. These are signs that the veil between you and the spiritual realm is thinning. The inner lamp has illuminated your temple to such a degree that heaven's voice can now travel to you more clearly. You are not imagining these experiences. You're becoming spiritually synchronized. You may also notice that your desires are changing. The things you once chased out of insecurity no longer appeal to you. The things you once feared no longer intimidate you. Your soul begins to crave meaning over distraction, connection over validation, purpose over comfort. And it's not because you're becoming serious or detached. It's because you're finally aligned. Your spirit is leading now, not your wounds, not your ego, not your survival instincts. When the inner lamp shines, the heart learns to want what heaven wants for you. There is something else unfolding too. You are beginning to attract opportunities, alignments, and connections that match the frequency of your awakened identity. Doors that were once closed suddenly open. Paths that were once blocked begin to clear. People who are meant to walk beside you start appearing in unexpected ways. These alignments may feel like coincidence, but they are not. When your inner lamp reaches this stage of radiance, your external world reorganizes itself to match the new light within you. You become magnetic to destiny. This is also the stage where spiritual discernment becomes razor sharp. You can feel corruption before it reveals itself. You sense hidden motives without needing evidence. You can detect deception in silence and authenticity in whispers. You may not always speak what you sense, but you feel it deeply in your body, in your chest, in your forehead, in your spirit. This level of discernment is not there to make you suspicious. It is there to protect what you are becoming. A chosen one stepping into their identity is a vessel heaven guards carefully. Chosen. Another shift begins happening during this stage. Your relationship with your past transforms. The memories that once haunted you begin losing their power. The regrets that burdened you start dissolving. The wounds that shaped you begin healing from the inside out. You stop viewing your past as a chain and begin seeing it as preparation. Every heartbreak becomes a lesson. Every loss becomes an initiation. Every betrayal becomes redirection. You start realizing that nothing was wasted. Everything was shaping your spirit, strengthening your intuition, and preparing your heart to hold the light you now carry. And with that realization comes forgiveness, not necessarily reconciliation, but release. You begin letting go of what once weighed you down, because the version of you emerging has no space for bitterness. It's not that you forget what happened, it's that your spirit rises above it. That is what the inner lamp does. It frees you from the prisons your mind built to protect you. Finally, chosen. 1. This stage brings a deep sense of calling to your heart. You may not know the full picture yet, but you feel the pull. You sense the mission. You feel the importance of your presence on this earth. Something inside you whispers that your life is not ordinary, that your existence matters, that your light is needed. This is not ego speaking, this is truth. Every chosen one reaches this moment, the moment where they realize they were never meant to simply survive. They were meant to awaken, to illuminate, to rise. And now that rising is happening within you, the temple is alive, the lamp is bright, and your spirit is stepping boldly into its true identity. Chosen one. As we bring this sacred moment to a close, let your spirit stay open for just a little longer. What has awakened within you today is not a concept, not an idea, not a temporary feeling. It is identity. It is remembrance. It is the ancient knowing that has lived inside you since before you took your first breath. You did not stumble into this teaching. You were guided. Heaven has been preparing you, aligning you, and calling you to this very moment so that the hidden I within you could rise again. Chosen one. The light you felt stirring is not fading. It is growing. It is the confirmation that the divine blueprint within you is active, that the signs and sensitivities you have carried all your life were never random. They were markers. They were whispers. They were heaven's way of reminding you that you were set apart, chosen, anointed, long before the world ever named you. Today that truth has stepped forward. Today your identity has spoken. And now the path ahead of you shines with a clarity your spirit has been longing for. As you leave this space, I speak this over you. May your inner lamp burn brighter with every step you take. May the Christ light within you guide your decisions, your relationships, your thoughts, and your destiny. May every hidden sign become clear, every sacred marker rise to the surface, and every divine purpose awaken in full. May your heart remain steady, your mind remain open, and your spirit remain anchored in the truths of who you were created to be. Chosen one, walk forward now with confidence. Walk with the awareness that you carry revelation, that you carry vision, that you carry a light this world desperately needs. You are not stepping into a new path, you are finally stepping into your own. Heaven is with you. Heaven is ahead of you. Heaven is rising within you. If this message touched something deep within you, may share your experience in the comments as a declaration of your awakening. And if you feel led to stay connected to this sanctuary of truth, you may subscribe or share this teaching with another soul who is ready to remember. Do so only if your spirit confirms it. Chosen one. Your lamp is lit. Your identity is alive. Your journey is sacred. Walk in your light and walk boldly. The world has been waiting for the version of you that just awakened.